The Russian President Vladimir Putin's anticipated visit to India sends an unmistakable message to Donald Trump and Europe that Russia remembers who stood by it when others turned away. India's support for Russia has been a cornerstone of their relationship. From the outbreak of the Ukraine conflict in February 2022, the majority of Western countries moved to condemn Russia, sanction its economy, and ostracize it on global platforms. India charted a different course, abstaining repeatedly from UN General Assembly and Security Council resolutions demanding Russian withdrawal from occupied Ukrainian territory, including the July 12, 2024 vote on the Zaporizhia nuclear plant zone, and two separate measures on the war's third anniversary in February 2025. These abstentions shielded Moscow from near-unanimous censure and gave China cover to resist blanket anti-Russia resolutions. When Western sanctions crippled Russia's access to European markets, India emerged as a vital buyer of discounted Russian crude oil. Before the Ukraine war, Russian oil accounted for a mere 0.2% of India's imports. By May 2023, this surged to 2 million barrels per day, comprising 45% of India's total crude imports. In 2024, India's imports averaged 1.75 million barrels daily, peaking at 2.08 million in June 2025. Financially, this translated to 49 billion euros in Russian fossil fuel revenues in the third year of the conflict, with India contributing 20% of the 242 billion total. These purchases mitigated the impact of sanctions, which reduced Russia's oil revenues by only 6% in 2024 compared to pre-invasion levels. By redirecting exports to India, Russia maintained economic stability, with seaborne crude exports dropping just 3% in volume in September 2023, while revenues rose 10% due to price recovery. Beyond oil, India's refining of Russian crude into products like diesel, exported to Europe, indirectly funneled 4 billion euros in tax revenues to Russia in 2022-23. This economic lifeline helped Russia sustain its war economy, with fossil fuel earnings reaching 847 billion euros since the invasion start. India's role was not merely opportunistic, it was strategic, ensuring Russia's financial resilience against Western isolation efforts. The $68.7 billion bilateral trade in FY25, a six-fold increase from pre-war levels, underscores this commitment, with oil, coal and fertilizers dominating India's imports. India's high-profile leaders, including Prime Minister Modi, have consistently refrained from direct criticism of Russian actions in Ukraine, Syria, Georgia, Chechnya, or the Arctic, instead emphasizing dialogue, negotiation, and peaceful dispute resolution. This strategic silence or restraint at crucial junctures shields Russia from reputational damage and diplomatic backlash. With Western sanctions choking Russia's access to high-end electronics, machine tools, and dual-use technology, India has quickly become Russia's second biggest supplier of restricted critical components, microchips, circuits, machine tools, servers, notably for AI, and more. In 2024, Indian exports of goods subject to export controls reached a record $95 million in a single month, representing nearly one-fifth of Russia's sanctioned technology imports, second only to China. Much of this commerce occurs via intermediaries, with shipments of servers, microelectronics, and UAV components ultimately supporting the Russian military-industrial complex. To manage sanctions-imposed restrictions on dollar-based transactions, India collaborated with Russia to establish alternative payment channels, further shielding Russia from the full force of Western financial deterrence. Settlement shifted first to the UAE dirham, with Indian state refiners now making payments for practically all Russian oil purchases in dirhams via intermediaries in the UAE. Temporary attempts to implement a direct rupee-ruble payment corridor also grew, with volumes more than doubling in 2024, even as implementation faced limitations due to exchange volatility and Russia's rupee accumulation. These measures enabled Russia to circumvent dollar-dominated international payment systems and bolstered the ruble during its most vulnerable periods. Importantly, payments routed via India gave Russia both economic durability and indirect endorsement for its efforts to de-dollarize trade, which is a key pillar of its global economic strategy. Putin's visit, therefore, is a reciprocal gesture, reinforcing a partnership that has weathered global shifts. As India navigates U.S. tariffs and diplomatic complexities, Russia's commitment, evident in its support during India's 2024 Pahalgam terror attack and historical neutrality in India-China tensions, strengthens this bond. The visit will likely solidify India's role as a key player in Russia's economic and diplomatic survival, proving that their special and privileged partnership endures even under global scrutiny.